We are live, unoriginal FC, back in the cut. Terrance Crawford, Bud Crawford, he's done it again. Champion at 154, defeating Madrimov. Listen, it was I think in the end, it was a fairly, I don't know if comfortable is the right word, but, Bud Crawford did a job. He went out there and, handled business. It was a professional win, let's say that. There are a lot of different opinions regarding this fight because for the first time since 2016, a Bud Crawford fight didn't end in a knockout. It was a very competitive fight. Madrimov clearly came in with a game plan. His game plan was not to bite. His game plan was to be energetic, move around the ring, and not get caught with a leveler. And it worked. It worked. His plan worked. Yes, it didn't result in a win, but he didn't get knocked out like many of Bud Crawford's opponents before him. A lot of people had this fight 8-4. A lot of people had this fight a lot closer. Some people even had Madrimov winning. I'm not going to go as far as to say Madrimov won the fight because I do believe Bud Crawford did win this fight. I scored it 7-5 to Crawford. A lot of people scored it 8-4 to Crawford. Some called it a total domination on Crawford's part. I don't think it was a total domination on Crawford's part at all. I think Crawford at times was uncomfortable in that ring. And I think the way that he came out aggressive in those championship rounds showed that he knew that he needed to win those rounds. He knew that he needed to win those rounds, not necessarily because he was losing, but because the fight was a bit too close for comfort by Bud Crawford's standards. Madrimov made it a very competitive fight, and shout out to him. He didn't make it easy for Bud Crawford at all. Throwing those overhand rights, he kept pressing, but it didn't seem as though he respected Bud Crawford's power as much as other opponents in the past. Madrimov, to be fair to Madrimov, they say he's a natural 154 pounder, bro, but he's a massive 154. I don't know if you lot will look at, bro. Madrimov is a massive guy, bro. His back is wide as fuck. Madrimov is a big guy. I believe he was heavier at amateur level, and it makes sense because he's a massive 54 pounder, massive. He looked a lot bigger than Crawford in that ring, so it makes sense as to why he didn't respect Bud Crawford's powers as much as previous opponents. That being said, in those championship rounds, Bud came through. Bud became far more aggressive. His punch placement in those championship rounds were brilliant, and those championship rounds were needed. They were needed, and Crawford needed to win those convincingly because I will say that the prior 2-3 rounds went to Madrimov in my eyes. I think Madrimov started to become more aggressive, in the 7th, 8th, in those 7th, 8th, 9th rounds. He became far more aggressive. In the 9th round, I thought he was tagging Bud Crawford with a lot of shit. He started tagging Bud in that 9th round. I don't think at any point he ever hurt Bud Crawford or really damaged Bud Crawford. But he was tagging Bud. Bud was getting hit with some shit. In that 9th round especially, he was getting hit with some shit. So, for those that say it was a dominating performance of Bud Crawford, no, I watched a different fight. I watched a very competitive fight. A chess match of sorts, and Madrimov made it uncomfortable for Bud Crawford in there. Bud Crawford likes guys that jump him. He likes guys that bite because Bud Crawford is one of the best counterpunchers we've ever seen. He lives off that, right? And Madrimov clearly went in there and said, you know what? I'm not going to bite. I'm not going to bite first. I'm not going to commit myself first. I'm not going to give you a decision to make. No, because that's where you excel. No. I'm going to keep moving around. I'm going to keep being busy and energetic. And I'm going to pick my spots. And it was effective. It was effective, and it caused Bud some discomfort. But ultimately, Bud's professional job did what he had to and won the championship rounds very convincingly. He obviously won the first few rounds. I give the first few rounds to Bud as well. Overall, it was a competitive fight, man. It was a competitive fight. I enjoyed it. Bud Crawford deservingly taking the win. I scored it 7-5 personally. I gave 5 rounds to Madrimov. Do I want to see a rematch? I don't know. I don't know if I want to see a rematch of that. Does Madrimov deserve a rematch? I believe he does. I believe he put up enough of a fight, and as a champion, he put up enough of a defence that, the fight was competitive enough where I would say he deserves a rematch. Will Bud Crawford give it to him? No, I think Bud Crawford is at the point in his career where he needs the big paydays and he's chasing legacy. And mentioning chasing legacy and big paydays, we all know that Bud Crawford's been angling for a fight with Canelo Alvarez. I'm here to tell you right now, he don't want that smoke with Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez, you don't want them problems, bro. Because I'll be honest with you, Canelo Alvarez will knock Bud Crawford's head clean off his shoulders. Let me repeat, Canelo Alvarez will knock Bud Crawford's head clean off his shoulders. It's a mismatch. It's a mismatch. And especially after watching, Crawford's first fight at 154, it just convinced me even more that you don't want them Canelo problems, man. Because Madrimov was not respecting Bud Crawford's power. He wasn't. That's just a plain and simple. I watched what I saw. I saw what I saw. And Bud Crawford was hitting Madrimov with some dumping shots, and Madrimov kept pressing forward. Madrimov was not respecting the power. He wasn't respecting the power as much as you think when it comes to Bud Crawford. Another thing that I did find quite interesting, side note, away from the fight. Obviously, the fight was delayed beforehand because Bud Crawford's gloves had ripped. Now, Bud Crawford was not meant to wear Grants. I believe he ended up wearing Grant gloves, right? But he doesn't usually wear those. However, he saw Madrimov wearing Grants and he asked, from what reports are saying, he asked Madrimov not to wear those gloves. Madrimov declined that request. And Bud Crawford said, okay, you know what? Say no more. You want to do that? Cool, I'm going to use the Grant gloves too. Right? And whilst using the Grant gloves in his warm-up, reports came out that the gloves split. And that caused a delay in the fight. Now, is this suggesting foul play was possibly at hand? No, because we've had controversy with gloves in the past, anyway and whatnot. And I will say, on Bud Crawford's part, things do look a bit murky, do look a bit stinky when you come to realise that this is not the first time that Bud Crawford's gloves have ripped. And I'm just gonna ask. Is Bud Crawford potentially loading his gloves? Is Terrance Crawford potentially loading his gloves? Is he loading up on the gloves? Because it's not the first time, nor is it even the second time that his gloves have ripped before fights. I'm just asking a question. And did Bud Crawford also suspect some potential foul play on Madrimov's side prior to the fight, which led to him changing his own gloves? I don't know. I'm just asking the question. But I did find it interesting. Ultimately, it was a competitive fight. Madrimov executed, but Bud Crawford just had a bit more quality in the end, and he won those championship rounds convincingly. His punch placement accurate and special as ever. And Bud Crawford is now a 4-weight world champion. The legacy just continues to grow. Shout out to Bud Crawford, man. He's a champion's champion, bro. So, like, comment, subscribe, show love, hit the notification bell. Unoriginal FC, over and out.